Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cryptic Commander. We are your hosts. I'm John Nose.
This is Onik.
And Onik, we've got quite a lot of going on here in the world of Magic, man.
Yeah, we do.
There's even some stuff that we've actually omitted until next episode for time reasons. We'll get into that a little bit later next week, and we'll explain more. But for time restrictions, we are proudly sponsored by North Valley Games, where you can go to northvalleygames.com, enter the promo code TCC2021, save 10% off your whole order, and sponsored by the Hobby Goblins, sponsored by Artopia, sponsored by Legend Rise Gaming, partnered with Magic the Gathering Players Group Facebook group, and partnered with Cosmic Gaming. Onik, we've got a special guest with us this week.
Yes, we do.
Ken Meyer Jr. Ken, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Hey, you're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Now, we are well aware that you don't play Magic the Gathering. I'm not sure if some of the listeners know or not, but this is going to be an interesting show nonetheless, though. We start off every show with Card of the Week. This week, I handpicked out this one. Ken, I think you know a little bit about this one, though. It's Mr. Remora.
Yep, that's one of mine, all right.
We're gonna read off a little bit about the card. Onik, I'm going to leave this one in your hands.
Okay. Mystic Remora. This is a commander staple enchantment for 1 blue mana coming way back in Ice Age. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4. This is a 1 mana enchantment, but it has a cumulative upkeep of 1 mana.
Yeah.
Which is pretty easy to afford, especially in commander format. You have ram spells, and you have 3 different opponents who are basically going to reward you one way or another. It's a $9 card back in Ice Age, and it's a common.
Yeah.
So this is a highly valuable card, sought after card.
I just keep hearing people say they like pissing people off by playing it. That's all I remember.
I mean, it's like an eye roll anytime it enters the battlefield or comes into play. It's like, oh, great, now I have to pretty much play differently to not reward you for just me playing the game naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned about this card maybe 3 years ago. I've been playing the game for 30 years. Now, Commander, I jumped into that just a few years ago. And I've been knowing about the format forever. But to me now, within the last couple of years, this is a card that has to almost go in every one of my decks.
Yeah, it's a staple.
You know, and I went to go play Vintage the other day. I said this on one of the previous podcasts. And I pulled a little Mystic Remora out of the woodworks. I'm like, I got to play with this. You know, we're playing Vintage, you know. But yeah, the artwork on this is, I mean, I don't think they've made another alternative artwork on this, have they, Onik?
No.
Are you sure? I thought I heard there was a new Mystic Remora out.
There is one from Secret Lair.
Oh, okay. And that's not quite as part of the game as the regular cards or something?
It's a promotional product from Wizards of the Coast to where they kind of have they showcase a certain amount of cards with a specific theme, either an artist or an art style or whatnot. Here's the thing.
Secret Lair is a product that's been around maybe about 7 years, 8 years. It's a little bit newer to Magic, and it's directly from Wizards of the Coast. Directly from them. I mean, at first, because they did a little, from backlash from the community and stuff, for supporting the LGS, it was exclusive only from Wizards of the Coast, and they were expensive cards, $50 a piece and stuff, Ken.
Wow.
And sometimes they would sell you one with 3 cards in it, one with 5 cards in it, and they were always around that range of $50. But they would always be a blinged out version, like a foil version or something that you could never get back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like the Magic equivalent of the multi-cover comics back in the 90s where stuff would come out with 5 different covers, so you have to buy 5 different copies of the same comic.
Yeah, for collectors, but then you got Commander players that want to bling out their Commander decks, so instead of playing with a regular Mystic Remora with your artwork on it, they would probably go get the most Secret Lair one.
Okay.
That, or there's also a lot of players who like the very first version of certain cards.
Like me.
Yeah, to where their cards look not aged, That's not, but like it looks maybe more historic to where they have like old cards and new cards mixed in it to where it looks like it's just, a collaboration of everything from Magic.
So now they have the new modern frame. The frame, that the border, is always evolved throughout the years. And what they're doing nowadays is they're coming out with retro framed cards for the new cards that never were in the retro frame. Kind of like the nostalgia feels. That nostalgia is it'll get you in the boo boo. It'll get you.
I'll tell you, that particular thing I've said for a long time now is a big part of the reason why I think people love those older cards. I mean, there was maybe there was a little bit more personality because people were just using their own styles and they weren't maybe told to work a specific way, following a style guide, or people were just at different levels of being artists back then. So what I'm trying to say is any given card from way back in the beginning of the game, the artwork itself may be really good or it may just be okay. But the reason that people really love a lot of them is because it came along at a time in their life, probably when they were kids, when you had no responsibilities, everything was great, you really liked Magic. So the nostalgia factor is maybe a larger percentage of why someone would like it, rather than just the card, just the art, anything like that.
Yep. You nailed it right in the bud. The first time I saw the Curd Ape, I was at a point in my life where I was living with my parents, and like what you were saying, there was no responsibility. There was I had to have a job and pay bills, and, life was, tickled pink. And here I am sitting at a kitchen table sorting through Magic cards, like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. And I come across Curd Ape for the first time ever. And I'm like, whoa, this has got to be a real picture. These are all like paintings and drawings. But this card's got to be a picture. I mean, I stared at Curd Ape for 40 minutes trying to find a brush stroke or, a hand mistake or something, gosh, Ken, kudos on that card. I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of your artworks. Mystic Remora to me is a little bit on the lower side, in my opinion. But a lot simpler. The Curd Ape, though, is wow, man, wow. But Onik, I sent you a link earlier to when you do a quick Google search on Ken. There's a couple of links, and one that popped up. Let me see if I can go back to it because I forget the name of it. Let me go back up through our messages here. There it is. Ken Meyer Jr. And it's got a website, fineartamerica.com. Have you heard of that one, Ken?
Yeah, that's a place where I sell stuff in a lot of different formats. Like they have a sister site called pixels.com. So they sell artwork as prints, cups, pillows, shower curtains, yoga mats, anything you could want.
Wait, so we could have a Curd Ape shower curtain?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
With your Mystic Remora pillow,
Yeah. But as far as Curd Ape goes, obviously the artwork is shrunk way down. So when you shrink something way down, you're going to see a lot fewer brush strokes or elements of maybe the human hand, right? Because it gets just even, and nowadays, of course, it gets shrunk down even more because people work a lot bigger.
Yeah.
My original artwork might have been like 7 by 9 inches.
We had Alper Markov on the podcast recently, and he interviewed you a while ago. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned on that, I don't know if it was a podcast, but I know it's a YouTube video. And on that interview, you guys were talking about Curd Ape and the fact there were not red eyes and there were red eyes. And it's like, I know there's red eyes because...
Oh, yeah, there's definitely red eyes.
Yeah, because the internet, people are going to probably hear about Curd Ape for the first time with this podcast, right? And here it is, they're going to go on the internet and the image you roughly see almost everywhere, they don't look like red eyes because, like you said, the detail is so small. And
well, plus it's a printing thing. Different printings would have different intensities of color all around, including the red eyes. They might look more brown, but they were definitely red. And I've since done a lot larger version of that painting using the original reference, so it's a lot more detailed, and the red eyes are even bigger.
Am I right by saying that the original design, it wasn't red eyes?
No, it was. It was.
Oh.
Yeah, because I wanted to separate it from your, normal Earth ape creature, so I just basically gave it red eyes. And
being a Magic player too, I really wanted to read into more of the card. Like, man, it's got to be broken. It's got to be broken. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to get a +1, +2 or something if you got a green forest or something. Anyway, I thought it was broken, Onique, but come to find out, it wasn't really the best thing.
Well, I mean, back in the day, you could just drop like a single, dual land, and you have a 1-mana 2/3 creature, which was way above rate back then.
Yeah, the curve, right?
Yeah, because creatures like way back were really bad and the spells were really good. So to have a creature that had good stats for just 1 mana was good. It was an aggressive card.
All right, movers and shakers. This segment is brought to us by mtgstocks.com, where you can follow us every week as we do movers and shakers. All you have to do is go to mtgstocks.com. And then right here at the top, I just get back to my page. It says weekly winners 2022-48. We click on that guy, and then we scroll all the way down to the bottom. So starting this week with cheap pickups, we've only got 3 this week. It's Ava Bruck Caretaker at $7.42, slowly moving down. I'm sure, Ken, these cards can go for quite a bit of money, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know that much. Which ones, other than the real well-known ones, I have no clue.
Right, like the Black Lotus and the Moxes and all that. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of these cards, man. So Ava Bruck Caretaker, $7.42, slowly moving down. Now, Timeless Lotus. This is a new Lotus, $17.15. It's slowly moving down. We don't have any show notes this week on the information of why it's slowly moving down, but I do know Go ahead.
I think it was just a little bit overhyped because, I mean, Ken, as you know, Black Lotus is an extremely famous card. Mm-hmm. So they've made other cards that had Lotus in the name to kind of go like, oh, this got to be also really strong.
Right.
Timeless Lotus was hyped to be a pretty powerful card. I mean, not as good as the original. Mm-hmm. I think at its peak was around $40, and then people just kind of realized it's an okay card.
You're right. It was a little bit over $40. It was like $44 or something. But yeah, I mean, it like you said, man, it sounds good on paper, but with a little play test, and it's like, this is some poo-poo.
Mm. Yeah.
And the last cheap pickup this week is Haughty Gin at $2.89. It's moving up. A little note here. It's been identified by MTG Stocks Premium Penny Stocks. It's a card that has been reached out its bottom, and it's starting a consistent uptrend. So this little note. So if you need to get some copies of this guy, get them now.
Yeah, I have a copy.
Coming in at number 3 this week, Cityscape Leveler.
Yeah, John, we both picked this one as our favorite artifact from the set.
Yeah, and you can see it's moved up. It's moved up 28%, man, $6.38. And I think it's going to keep moving up.
I'm picking one up tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Coming at number 2 this week is, how do you pronounce this? Mycosynth Golem? Mycosynth Golem. That's so cute. Say that 3 times fast. Now, it's not slowly moving up. This is rapidly moving up. It's $41.72. It's up 46%. Onique, what can you say about this card?
It was pretty stable for $15. Mm-hmm. Why is it moving up? I think it's
an artifact, right?
Yeah, I think it just has a lot of synergy with different artifacts.
Yeah.
Specifically, which one? I'm not too sure. I think it's most likely related to Commander. I see a bit of Urza, Chief Artificer.
Mm-hmm. It's affinity for artifacts. It costs 11. So, if you're not familiar with affinity for artifacts, the spell costs 1 colorless less to play for each artifact you control. So basically, if I got 3 artifacts out there and I got 2 lands, it's going to cost 3 colorless less normally. And I can tap my 2 lands to add to it. Whatever. It's going to come out real cheap and real quick. But number 1 this week, Brotherhood's End. It's $5.09. Why is it number 1 this week? It's gone up an astounding 130%. Now, it came out in what? Double Masters?
No, this is a new one from. The Brotherhood's End.
Yes,
not the Brotherhood's End is from the Brothers' War.
Is it really? So it's a reprint.
No, brand new.
Okay, it's brand new. Oh, I see, bro, right here, bro.
Yep.
When this card came out, I think a lot of people immediately realized that this was a good sweeper in at least some formats. Cards like Anger of the Gods. These are show notes from cards, mtgstocks.com. Some standards. He's playing Pioneer, Modern occasionally. So when it was spoiled, it was clear that this card may have also found a home in perhaps some of these formats. It explains what it does. It destroys artifacts. And a lot of formats like to get rid of artifacts. You know what?
It's just a good sweeper. I mean, it's a card that can kill a lot of creatures or it can kill a lot of artifacts.
So
and being flexible to where you have the option to do either or depending on what the game situation is.
Yeah. Well, I saw this coming though.
It's a strong card to have in your deck. A lot of people saw it coming. A lot of people are talking about this card to where it's like in Commander, you have all your mana rocks. You have your Soul Ring, your Signets, your Talisman, Felwar Stone, whatever, and you can knock those all out or knock out a bunch of creatures. The flexibility of this card is great, and it replaces Anger of the Gods or even Sweltering Suns.
You know what's really giving me a bad taste about this card is the artwork, and I'm glad we have an artist with us today. It's just all digital, man. And I heard from RK Post that a lot of the artwork in Magic's going back to the past with a lot of hand drawings and stuff. Yeah. So to me, that's real good news to me. But the artwork on this, I mean, I can see the focal point. It's right there in the middle. It's got a bright light in the middle, so your eyes naturally go there. But if you really want to go deep into it, what are you looking at? The little guy underneath it? You know what I mean? It's a lot of fog in the background, man. It kind of reminds us of the Cryptic Commander logo. A lot of fog in the background.
Well, that's a tough thing about. I'm not a digital artist, so I'm just speaking from observation. But that's one of the tough things about being a digital artist, being told to work really photorealistically, and then still, number one, be able to have an identifiable style, and number two, having enough knowledge of composition. Focal points, like you mentioned, stuff like that, so that when it does get reduced way down, it still pops enough. That's the drawback about working digitally, because you can work as big as you want and put as much detail as you want. But of course, when you get it down to card size, a lot of that detail is going to be lost.
Yeah. And I think that's a victim of what you're talking about right here, this card right here. But other than that, it's a good card. At 150% or 130% uptick, still, in my opinion, a cheap pickup at $5.09.
What's the card called again?
Brotherhood's End.
I'm going to look it up myself while you're talking there.
No, you're fine, man. Brotherhood's End.
Yeah, it's a card that came out about a month ago.
And I understand too, with the way the internet works, and you might not have a high definition image of it, there is a little character underneath that spark that I was talking about, the focal point.
Yeah, I mean, from a design standpoint, that card works fine, because you got a good dark figure in the foreground.
Yep.
Got the bright light in the middle. You can still see the main guy. There's some background information. So that one probably works okay. But a lot of times you get stuff that just has so much detail. It's like
a flying dragon shooting on fire and this and that. Yep. But those are your movers and shakers. All right, Onique, going back to my show notes here. A lot of this I edit out here. We're gonna talk to Ken for a couple seconds here. Ken, I
have kind of a funny thing to mention. Sure. It's probably irrelevant to anyone out there, but I have one of my Zoom windows open, and I'm looking at my personal meeting ID. Mm-hmm. The first 3 numbers are 666. The second 3 numbers are 420. So make of that what you will.
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny right there, buddy.
The devil's I don't know, the devil's weed, I guess.
Right? It's like, you heard it here, folks.
Hmm.
This podcast is sponsored by. Anyway,
yeah, right. Devil weed.
I do want to bring up that on this same website, mtgstocks.com, Ken, one of your other cards, Thermokarst, was actually a popular card for a moment. It still seems to be it.
Yeah, that's the story of my life. It was popular for a moment.
For a while, it's going from maybe like $1, $2, and then it spiked up to $10. So going up, like 500% or so, it's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
It still is retaining some of its values, going around 4. So, to be honest, I'm not so sure why this card is being played more often. I think it's in the format where you only play with common rarity cards,
or that format where you only play with artists. Like it can only be a Dan Schuler deck. It can only be.
It's funny that you say that because like back in the day, like I did another card, Aurochs.
Yeah.
That I mispronounced as a kid because I think I called it like Aruchos or something weird.
Oh.
Like I remember it like because it was a common card back in Ice Age where it says trample, and whenever Aurochs attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature named Aurochs.
Isn't that one of Ken's cards?
Yeah, it is, and I think my brother and I we played way back in the day, so we had like packs of Ice Age, and we just had a bunch of these, and we didn't really know the rules. We were just, kids just playing with cards. So we had like 10, 12, 15 in a deck, and it was just, we knew Trample was such a strong ability, which is good. It's not strong. But it felt kind of busted to have, because we were cheating, we didn't know, to have like 15 of these creatures in your deck. So of course it was a strong card. So this card, specifically Aurochs, is very nostalgic to me.
Right.
And Dark Ritual, from the one from Tempest.
Speaking of Dark Ritual, I'm looking over some of Ken's artwork here. When you look at the Dark Ritual, I know it's been mentioned in the past, especially on we talked in the pre-show here, and you talked with Alper Markov and some other people about your artwork for Dark Ritual, how it looks like the bad guy from Flash Gordon. What was his name? It began with an M.
Oh yeah, what was his name? Ming the Merciless.
There it is.
Well, actually, it's me. So, I have to hate to bust up your fantasy there. Unfortunately, it's just me.
No, which I find is really cool. I mean, not only you took a picture of yourself with a flashlight or something to make that image, right? And then you drew yourself, and you've used your daughter of one time in an artwork of a card.
Yeah,
I think it's cool that that you think outside the box.
Well, I since I think the mid '90s. I mean, originally I wanted to be a comic book artist, and I did some of that, and I got into doing more realistic comic book art. And for me to be able to do that to the level of skill that I wanted, I ended up using a lot of photo reference, and a lot of that I would shoot myself. So obviously, I'm always here and I'm free, so I'm going to be using myself now and then. And when the kids were still small, I used them for various things. So anyone that knows me usually ends up in some kind of artwork or another.
Before we move on to our next subject, I have a personal question to ask you, and I also have a listener question to ask you too. One of the listeners gave us a question before today's show started. So my personal question is, Ken, what do you say to somebody, like a fan of your artwork that looked at a Magic card and just stared at it for like 40 minutes and just can't believe the artwork he's looking at, and then he finally comes face to face and meets you for the first time? What do you tell this person when they just look at you like you're a celebrity? What do you tell this person?
I could probably tell them an awful lot that would bring me down to, human standards, believe me. But obviously I appreciate any kind of compliments that I get and people liking the work. So that's really what anyone should do, is just be grateful that someone appreciates their work. So, but I think once someone talks to me for a few minutes, they realize that I'm just as much a doofus as they are.
Right, down to earth person. I was going to mention later, but I'll just mention it now, that when I look over some of your artwork, you'll see really beautiful drawings. I'm not sure if they're paintings, but or maybe they started out as drawings and ended up paintings. But it's stuff like Chris Cornell, and one that caught my eye was John Goodman. And I'm a St. Louis, Missouri native, and John Goodman's from St. Louis, Missouri. And I had bumped into him one time. He was at a bar, and that's when I found out he frequented that bar. But he's down to earth just like me, you know. So when you say something like that, it really touches the heart, man. It touches the feels.
Yeah, and I'm seeing obviously a lot of people because I'm going to a lot of events.
Right.
So I talk to people all the time, and I always would rather make someone feel comfortable rather than, have someone like think that I look down on them or that I'm any better than anybody or
right. That's what. I was getting ready to say like a god, like a god.
But I mean, I can understand that too because when I meet. And in the past, when I've been able to meet some people that I really admire, there are a lot of artists, musicians, etc. And I look up to them the same way, and they would probably tell me the same thing that I just said, that, I'm not that special.
Right. Okay, which brings us to a listener question. This comes from listener J.D. Daring. J.D., he's got a lot of mouths to feed. He's got a question here. He's got a big family, man. And, how's becoming an MTG artist make your life better or worse?
Well, for me, it became, I think the effects were felt a lot further down the road because the work that I did, I would love to be doing work now, but it's very hard to get back in. The work that I did was back in the beginning of the game, like in the mid 90s. Mm-hmm. And when I started working for them, I had no clue what they were or even what really role-playing games were. I hadn't played D&D or any of that stuff. So it was basically just another illustration job, to be honest. It wasn't until a couple years later that I sort of realized how popular it was becoming. But I didn't start going to events until like maybe 10 years ago or so. So the big benefit that I felt is probably the privilege of going to all these events. Number one, not to meet people and to show my work, and obviously it helps my economic situation because I'm able to make money at these events. So that's really how the benefits come into play. If I was doing work for them now, probably the main benefit, other than the stuff that relates to the game, is it would probably be getting me more work outside of the game because it has such a high visibility and there's such a high level of respect given to someone who can illustrate for the game.
Beautiful. Beautifully said, man. I don't even know how to start off the next segment after that. I mean, you're so down to earth, man. Ken, I love you, bud. We are running out of time, so let's see if we can do. I'll tell you what. Onique, can you do top decks? MTG updates real quick.
Yeah, I could. I mean, there's really not a whole lot going on as far as Arena is concerned today and tomorrow. So, which is December 3rd and 4th, Saturday and Sunday. It's the qualifier play-in, which is the Brothers War Sealed.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a chance to win real world monies.
No, that's the Open.
Oh,
the play-in is a chance to compete at. It's like your entry to a higher level tournament. It's it's a qualifier. Gotcha. So if you do really well, then you can move on to the next stage and then the next stage until you eventually get to the World Cup of Magic. We'll say,
which you can win monies.
Yeah, and fame, maybe
fame and fortune, baby.
Yeah,
so a lot of people get into Magic for. You know what got me into the game, man? Artwork. Go ahead. Yeah,
then you also have a brawl event on Arena that's going on for another couple days until December 9th, which is a paid event. You play Brawl with a pre-constructed deck. You do not keep the deck, but you do get some nice rewards out of it. And there is, I think the jump-in event ended. Yeah, that just ended 2 days ago. But that's really about it. I know Jumpstart was released in paper. The Jumpstart 2022, that's when you have your 2 packets and you kind of like, mix the two packs together and you play with that.
Sure.
That is not on Arena. It is in paper, though.
And that's it for Arena updates?
Yeah, there's really not much going on in Arena.
Oh, man, that's a big bite. Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
it's more of the same.
Well, as we chew on that, then let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we still got a lot to talk about, news-wise. We're going to ask Ken his opinion on those. And, of course, we got Level Up. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. And we just got a message from our Patreon, Will. How many cards feature his artwork, and does he plan on doing more? So me and Onik and I had discussed before the show today that Onik did some digging and I did some digging. I came up with 17 cards and Onik came up with 14. Ken, do you know how many cards you did for Magic?
Somewhere between 14 and 17.
Are you just saying that because those are the two numbers we threw out at you?
Well, yeah, I think I did 15. Because I think I did 7 each for Arabian Nights and Ice Age, and then 2 after that. That's 14, 15, 16. But I could be wrong. I'd have to look and count. I just am not sure.
So you counted up to 16 right there, right?
If I did do 7 for each set, yeah.
There's one from Tempest, one from Invasion, and one from... Oh, that's it. And those are 2 outliers, I guess. And then, as you said, Ice Age and Arabian Nights.
Right.
So, how many cards feature his artwork? There you go. You answered that. And does he plan on doing more? So you mentioned earlier it's kind of hard to get back in, right? And I think when I was talking to RK, he was like, hey, man, some things I can't answer, right? So he must be under NDA or something, right? And lo and behold, 6 months later, they came out with a secret layer with his artwork on it,
Mm-hmm.
So, but do you plan on doing any more? Because I remember hearing you earlier on the podcast where you're like, hey, it's hard to get back in,
I would love to, but yeah, it's difficult. I mean, art directors have their likes and dislikes and what they, want in an artist. And so far I haven't been able to, I guess, hook up with the right art director or get the other ones to, want to use me. It's really, to be honest, it's very, very frustrating because I see a few of my contemporaries, getting new work and I wonder, well, why not me?
Right.
But I'm not an art director, so I don't know what I can say about it other than I am ready to when they want me to.
What? Let me see if I can word this properly. If anybody out there wants to have commission work done by you, do you still do stuff like that?
Oh, all the time.
Okay, how can they get a hold of you? Would they go to one of these websites and?
Well, I mean, I'm on all the social media stuff. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I have my own website, which is kenmeyerjr.com. You can send a message from there. You can get like my Store Envy page or that Fine Art America and stuff. But to contact me, if you're on Facebook, that's probably the easiest way. When you go on my website, there is a place where you can send an email from there. So I do alters all the time, for example, and I do commissions of all kinds of different stuff.
See, what I would like, Onik, because I would like Mystic Remora hanging on my wall somewhere.
Well, for example, I have repaintings of a lot of these things that I do frequently, as needed, I guess, or commissions, like if someone wants a repainting of any specific size. I've done several of them, and I've done a few that have had like all the characters together. So I don't know, I've done 5 or 6 like that so far.
I just had a visual of like having a dark ritual pillow, the one from Tempest, and you just kind of roll over and you just see the dude staring back at you.
Yeah, yeah. With
I
that,
don't know if I want that, to be honest.
what you're really looking at is Ken staring at you. So let's get real
Yeah,
here.
like I said, I wouldn't want that if I were you.
Well, I
have
know
a Frazetta pillow that I got at the Frazetta Museum. Now that's something that you might want.
Wait, say it again?
I got a Frank Frazetta pillow.
Oh, okay.
Because I went to visit the museum for the first time recently.
Nice.
And they have a lot of that stuff, so I got something there.
Well,
in fact, they have some Frazetta Secret Lair stuff that just came out.
Nuh-uh.
I think so. I know that they did do some Frazetta images, like 5 or 6, and I think Secret Lair is where they sort of can do that sort of thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, of course. There's a new product they had that was booster packs, Ken, for Magic's 30-year anniversary. They cost $1,000 per pack. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of
Per 4-packs.
things that a lot of people are angry about when it comes to the 30th anniversary. I have one of my own, but yeah, I've heard some stuff like that.
So, Onik, there's 4 packs that cost $1,000. That's how it is?
Yeah, it's like, I guess, a bundle. You're buying 4-packs. So in a sense, it's $250 each.
Got it.
But you have to buy it 1,000 at a time.
Wow. Yeah, so real quick, the news now on this is they sold out like in 30 minutes.
Well, that's what was initially assumed, but it quickly turned into no confirmation of it being sold out. It was just no longer available, or the sale has concluded, or the option to purchase this is no longer available, or whatever.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes of it, Onik. Basically, there's a lot of rumors going around on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere that did Wizards pull the plug on it and not even sell any at all?
They sold. My understanding is that I know they sold some, because I have a friend of a friend who has a confirmation thing that I purchased 2 of them, so 2,000. They are a collector investor,
right? You got to figure some person's like, man, let's get a whole box, right?
Yeah, someone out there did some number crunching apparently to where maybe like I forget the number, but a little bit over 1,000 units were sold, which 1,000 times 1,000 is $1 million, which is nuts.
Yeah.
But allegedly they had more product to sell, but I think because of the massive amount of negative feedback, they shut it off for whatever reason, probably because of negative feedback. Maybe there's something else behind the scenes. Maybe like they oversold it. I don't know. To where they just turned it off, and they never, because normally if there was like a limited product for sale and it was sold out, they would say sold out, no longer available. The Magic event in Las Vegas that happened in end of October, like they said, kind of loud and proud, we are sold out. We'll see you there. They never did this for this anniversary pack. So to me, that initially is like, okay, so did you sell out? Do you still have some? Are you just not selling it anymore? I don't know what happened. No one knows what happened. So everyone's just assuming that like they kind of embarrassed themselves, maybe because it didn't sell enough or whatever the case is, to where they just kind of stopped.
We just got some news just in. Hold on. Talking on the cast about it now. Peddler. MTG Peddler. Not sure if you're in need of a topic for tonight on the podcast, but I got a decent angle on Magic 30th if you want it. That's funny because he just now sent me the message, right? I'm like, what's up? Talking on the cast.
Like, just in breaking news.
That's what I'm treating it as, right?
Eyewitness news.
All right, yeah, the patron can't hear us, but you're going to bear with us, Will. Will, you got to bear with us, buddy.
And Lyra Dawnbreaker.
Hold on. So we all know 30th anniversary is disliked, and Rudy from Alpha Investments.
What? Yep. You just did that? Yeah.
Will?
Yo.
You got to mute yourself, buddy.
I don't have a mute button. You have to mute me.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Do it.
I got you. He's muted. Okay. I'm going back to Peddler for a second because this is important. And then we got Slothy laughing. Okay. Hold on. So we all know 30th is already universally disliked, and Rudy from Alpha Investments just made a video that's leaked less than 2,000 sold.
Yeah. Now, so that's kind of like a number that I heard too yesterday. I said a little over 1,000. He's saying a little over 2,000, a little under 2,000. So it's kind of in line of the information that I received yesterday, but I don't know the exact numbers.
Yeah, and like Peddler's saying, this is a very bad thing for players moving forward. So what Peddler's saying and what I'm saying too is if you look at the latest news, and we've covered a little bit of it, and we told you we'll tell you as the breaking news comes in, right? That U.S. Bank decided to, what was it, U.S. Bank or Bank of America? One of those, right?
America.
Bank of America decided to go ahead and do the leak of to the shareholders, right? That, hey, the quality assurance of your company you're investing is kind of going down, and they're losing players left and right at the expense of making money. So, Ken, if you don't know, they've been pushing products down the players' throats, man, left and right, but like standard sets, supplemental sets. Now we got decks built from the sets. Then you got Jumpstart, which is in between every standard legal set moving forward. And then you got, remember back in the day, it was like 4 sets a year, and then they came out with a core set idea. Then they're like, now we see a graph, and we put it on the video for YouTube that, it's gotten so big over the years, man. It's like, instead of 4 products a year, we count at 23, Onik? 23 products?
There's no real number because it changes from year to year. Typically it's going up.
But it's coming to the point of they're almost coming out with a product of almost every 4 days now. They're coming out with a new product.
Not that frequent, but it does feel like there's something new coming out once a month.
When we crunch the numbers, it's almost like, what was it? It's every 8 days. When's it going to get to the point where it's every 4 days, and then every 2 days, and everything 1 day?
Because, I remember at some point, there was what we call spoiler season, which is where they start previewing the new cards that's going to be for the set coming out in the next month or so.
Yeah.
But now it's so frequent that there's a new set or supplemental product or something available for sale to where it feels like we're just perpetually in spoiler season, to where they keep previewing new cards like week after week, and there's almost no break, which for me, I'm very involved in Magic, so I can keep up with this. Additionally, I say about half of these cards are for formats of Magic that I don't play, so I can ignore most of it.
Yeah, but you got to also, I want to let Ken know too that the research and development side of Magic the Gathering has upped their game in the last 10 years. But also on the flip side of the coin, in the last 10 years, the quality assurance sign has went downhill. I made a joke about it, I think 3 or 4 podcasts ago, that I was playing Magic at a pre-release, and by the time I got home, those cards were Pringles. So, it was a 10-minute drive,
Do you know what we mean by Pringles, Ken?
I assume it's a card that got sort of curved or something?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah, so you already know exactly what we're talking about.
Once you pop, you can't stop. You know what I'm saying?
The foiling treatment of certain cards, the foil itself, I guess it reacts to temperature and or humidity, to where the metal or the foil or whatever curls the card.
Yeah.
To where,
that surprised me.
Yeah, to where if you want to play it in your deck, you have your regular non-foils, which are just flat, and then you have your foils or the Pringles or whatever that curl, to where you can kind of easily make out where those cards are in your deck. We talked about this last week.
You're saying that's sort of a giveaway to the other player to some degree, that they can tell what you have? Or
exactly. Yeah. There was we spoke about it last week, to where about 2 weeks ago, a player was disqualified and accused of cheating because they had 4 versions of a very specific card that curled, to where they can kind of reliably cut their deck to where that specific card would always be on top.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which is unfortunate that an official product from Wizards of the Coast is unplayable in tournaments. However, it's also a bit negligence on that player for not realizing that, not taking a step back and looking at the deck and say, hey, that's not flat.
Okay, so Peddler also, a little added information, just real quick, and it's very short. It's very plausible that we'll see a 30th anniversary slot in collection packs in the next main set. Just a little backstory here. Previously, before this statement, there's, what does he say? They're going to be replacing secret layer cards, box toppers, and other fun promos, free things we see. Let's see here. I got to go back to what he said. But what's a really bad thing for moving forward for new players or for players is WotC's stuck with the however many of those things. So what he's going over is we're going to celebrate Magic 30 for the next 2 or 3 years.
Magic 31, Magic 31.5.
You get what I'm saying? So, but no. What he's saying is we're going to celebrate that Magic's been around for 30 years for the next 2 or 3 years. And I kind of see where he's going with that because I thought the Las Vegas thing was going to be it. And then I got to wait until Magic 50, right? If I'm still on this earth. But here they're having one in Philadelphia. And they're going to have one in Philadelphia. Tickets went on sale yesterday. I put the link up in the Cryptic Commander Facebook group. And the last time I looked, they're all still buyable.
Yeah, if I had the funds, I'd be there.
I had a kind of a crappy experience with the previous Magic 30 event, and then I heard about this other one. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll be able to go to that one because I haven't been invited, for example, but it's also not that far after Eternal Weekend, which is also in Philadelphia. So I'm wondering if either one will affect the other.
It probably will. It probably will because, you got a week difference there. But I just know when I go to LAX Hilton for a convention, like last time I was there with Jeff Laubenstein, right? And whenever I go to this LAX Hilton one, it's during a holiday weekend or something. And it's always, there's competition from other conventions that are going on at the same time. So even if it's the same area, like Magic the Gathering related, 1 week later, people already blow their paycheck that last week. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, you're right in a sense. There's,
it's after, it has to be after Eternal Weekend because that's next weekend.
Yeah. I got a friend of mine who runs with Pastime Games, and she does a lot of organization with it.
All right.
I'm going to be at that one.
I think there's one more subject before we go to our last subject. Let me try and pull my show notes here. Hold on a second here.
But what MTG Peddler's talking about in our notes is that because of, like I said, I guess they just shut off the sale of this product, Magic 30th, so they probably are sitting on some inventory that they might be too embarrassed to resell. So they might be inserting some of these cards in future products as like here you go, here's a card. I don't know how true that is. We'll see. Yeah. But it'll be very awkward. If there's any plan for it and when they announce it, it's going to be very awkward.
They've been doing subtle stuff like this. Peddler's onto something, just like the Legends.
From their standpoint, they might be thinking that they can save face if it went wrong in the first place by looking like they're being generous by giving this stuff away later.
That makes so much sense.
Which would be also kind of humiliating to the ones who did pay a premium price for this product.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. $1,000 for 4 packs.
Yeah. I mean, I guess not necessarily a worst case scenario, but let's say that let's say I purchased one of these products for $1,000, and then 6 months down the road, John, you just happen to buy a collector booster and you just pop open a Time Walk.
Yeah.
It's like you got this pack just for being in a tournament, and I sat through a queue to pay for this premium product, and I got junk. That'd be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I could taste the salt now.
Yeah, especially if you know the person and you start getting jealous, but that's also the type of person you are.
Before we go over to our last segment, the artwork I'm looking at here, Ken, it's just so amazing, man. I mean, I mentioned Kurt Ape earlier, right? And how it looks just so, like a picture. Like literally, you must have took a picture and that was it. You called it a day, but I know you didn't, right? But just the quality of that artwork. And I'm looking at these pictures, man. It's just like you can draw a human almost perfect, bud.
Well, that's what I consider my main drawing point, I guess. And, related to that, getting likenesses correct. Mm-hmm. If you're drawing someone that's well known, or if you're drawing a specific person, to get it to look like him is something that you just learn how to do over a long period of time.
I've mentioned earlier Chris Cornell, John Goodman. There's so many people you drew, man.
I tell if you look on Facebook and you look in my altered card folder.
Oh yeah, like the Planet of the Apes and stuff.
Hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
when people tell me my line that I use every time is, I've done everything from Homer Simpson to Hitler, and I've done Hitler twice.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I painted almost everything and everybody.
I'm not sure if you saw that show called Into the Badlands.
Yeah, you mean
Yeah.
that sort of samurai-ish thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, when you said Hitler, that kind of threw me back. There was a show that came on after it. I think it was called Preacher or something.
Oh,
it
was great.
Yeah, they had toward the end of it, they had a Hitler character in there. I'm like, oh my god,
Preacher was an amazing show. I love that.
Wasn't it though?
Based on a comic, right?
It was based off a comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see you also did some Walking Dead artwork here, and
Oh yeah. Well, there's a couple companies that come out with card sets of collectible cards, nothing to do with Magic.
Mhm.
And I've done Walking Dead and Lord of the Rings and DC Heroes and various things like that.
Yeah, I saw one with Loki on it.
I'm just loving the artwork, man. It's like you're into so many cool things.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I painted a ton of musicians because I'm so into music. But yeah, I into a lot of stuff, I guess.
I was amazed when I saw that you did artwork of Chris Cornell, not just one, but a couple. And
What happened was I did one that it was commissioned for somebody, and someone else saw it and wanted a very similar thing. So I did another one with a very slight change.
Mhm.
And then there was another person. There was like a benefit concert, and they
Okay.
wanted a T-shirt design. So then I did a black and white of something for them. And there was
Nice.
a big box set of Chris Cornell albums that came out, and they used that Cornell as a print that was part of that package.
no way they used your artwork.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Oh wow! Did you get royalties or?
I can't remember what I got. I think they might have paid a fee, but I really can't remember. I mean,
It could have been Trident layer gum.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just happy to be part of like any music project. I wish I was doing album covers.
Yeah, I wish I was getting paid in Trident gum. But we're going to go to our last subject. It's going to be a quick one. You can play along with us, Ken, because it's about rarity. So this is going to be a little retro. We're going to do a little retro here. We normally do a segment called Level Up. And Level Up in the beginning of the podcast was called Beginner's Corner. And we would focus on talking to beginners. And it dawned on me today as I talk to people and I try to help them understand Magic and go along and better themselves, you know. I don't think we've ever discussed rarity. So when we talk on the podcast, it's at rare, it's at uncommon. What do these words mean? So, Ken, do you know what those words mean when we say rare, common, uncommon, mythic?
Well, not the last one, but I mean, as far as my cards go, I remember, Curd 8, for example, was a very common card. They just made a lot of those cards, as far as that's the way I understand the meaning of it. As far as uncommon, I guess I would think that would be the opposite, but I'm probably, not totally right about that.
Actually, you're in the ballpark there, bud. So, in Magic the Gathering, because basically almost everything you make collectible has this category, but some expand further, some don't. You always have common, uncommon, and rare. Okay. So the common would be everybody can get them. You'd probably get one in every booster pack, maybe every other booster pack. And then
commons typically I'd say more than half of the cards in a single booster pack would be common.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say like 60%.
I'm going through your cards as we're talking here. I'll count 2. You've actually came out with 2 rare cards, Ken.
Well, I know Guardian Beast is one, right?
Yep. Guardian Beast, and it looks like Formation.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about Formation.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day, baby.
I just know that Ice Age doesn't seem to be as popular as Arabian Nights.
No, man, there's a lot of circle protection white in that set. That's common in that set. So, like, almost every pack you're going to get a circle protection. So back to this subject at hand. Yeah, if you almost like a common, like me and O'Nique were talking about there, you're going to almost get one in every pack, every other pack. And then uncommon, you might not get one in the pack. I mean, it's not common. It's uncommon. You might open one in every 4 packs.
Well, I mean, uncommon is you probably, like I said, commons is probably 60% of the pack. Uncommon is probably about 30% of the pack. You'll still get them.
I'm not talking about of the pack, like your chances of getting it. So like, for instance, man, when I look for certain uncommons, it really amazes me how rare they pop up.
Are you talking about getting a specific one card?
No, just what the rarity is of them. What the word means in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you get to rare, you think uncommon was rare. That's why they call it rare, baby. You're gonna rarely see this guy, okay? You're gonna rarely see this guy. If like we talked about, you're trying to look for one card. If you are trying to look for one card, good luck. Good luck. Right? Now, I think it was 2006, maybe. In 2006, Magic came out with a new rarity. Because why not? The other big games that were catching up to Magic, which are called Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, they had rares that were just off the chain, man. They had ultra mega rares, and stuff like that. So Magic decided to come out with Mythic Rare. Mythic. And how rare is Mythic? You might as well consider it to be a myth.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for that card, you're not going to find it, baby. It's a myth. That's how rare that card is. It's a myth. Good luck. But that's rarity. What do you want to add to this, Onik?
So you're designated by the color of the expansion symbol. That's what you're talking about, right?
No, I'm talking about what they mean in the game. So like if you're talking to a beginner, right, and they don't understand what does this silver mean, because it's a set symbol. In the early days, Ken, if you knew this or not, they didn't even have a set symbol. So when I looked at Kurdate for the first time and there's a little sword on there, that tells me it comes from Arabian Nights, right?
Oh, okay.
And the sets before that, like 4th edition, revised, unlimited, alpha, beta, sets like that, they didn't even have a set symbol. So I was so young and dumb, I didn't even know there was such a thing as common, uncommon, rare, and all this, okay? I didn't even know, right? All I knew was to read the card, because some cards got abilities and some cards don't. Some cards say instant, some say summon Warmonk Beast or whatever,
Yeah, summon creature.
Something, whatever, yeah. And then, so I didn't even know about the rarity thing, man. But if I look now and I'm talking to somebody that's just starting, I want them to understand what rarity is. So that little set symbol, it'll either be black and white, which means it's common. And then the silver one, that's uncommon. Those things are kind of hard to get a hold of, especially if you're looking for a play set. And then you got your rare. That's when I say good luck. Okay, good luck. It's gold. That's the color symbol. Now the big one, Mythic Rare, I remember the first time I saw it. It's red. And yeah, that threw me for a loop, Onik. The black and white, I guess for 30 years, it just makes sense, At that time, 20 years? No, I don't know, 15 years, because 2006, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not too far away from 1993, right? So in 2006, when they came out with Mythic Rare, and to see red for the first time, I'm like, what's that? And then I turned the card around to make sure it had a real Magic the Gathering back to it, Onik. And the guy goes, oh, and it wasn't even a store, it was just a player. He's like, oh, that's a new rarity, man. It's Mythic Rare. I'm like, what? Mythic Rare?
They started coloring them back in Exodus.
Okay.
That's when it was first colored. Because I remember in Tempest, where you had your Dark Ritual, it was just all the same expansion symbol color. It was all the same. After that was Stronghold, and then Exodus. And Exodus was when it was first colorized, the expansion symbol, and I thought it was the coolest thing, and it helped me so much to where like, oh, I know, don't have to look at Scry or Inquest or what's the other one, Duelist, to see what the rarity was. It was like right on the card. I thought it was such a cool feature.
Now, Abu Jafar, that's a card that Ken did the artwork for. It's coming in uncommon. And I actually have this artwork framed, and that's right, framed. And it's really cool. I got a silver, wooden, old-time looking frame. Paid like $30 for the frame, but it looks like it's old, and it really makes that artwork pop out. I'm just going to tell you, man, everybody that looks at this knows, well, half the people that look at it know about the artwork, Ken. But,
well, is it a print of the card?
It's a print of the card. Yeah, it's a print of the card. And, but the frame, everybody just loves it, man. They're like, man, it makes that artwork pop out. And I'm like, I know, right? And another card you did, which is common, is one we mentioned earlier, Aurochs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have one coming in at common. Benel's Trapper.
Yeah, but Dallas Trapper is the only card that you have in print that has the ability to have the expansion symbol be colored, because it came from Invasion and that had the colored expansion symbols.
Right. That's when we knew it was common for sure.
Yeah.
And then Clairvoyance, it looks like it's a common. Dark Ritual, of course, a common. Urnum Djinn,
I loved this card back in the day.
That's uncommon. Yeah, I still have mine.
It's very iconic.
White border and everything, yeah. Formation. That's it looks like an alphabetical order is what we're doing here.
Yeah.
That's the first rare one, and then your second rare will be Guardian Beast. Curd Ape. It says rare. No, it says revised. I'm sorry, that's revised. It's black and white, so that means common. That's unfortunate.
I tell you, somebody told me long ago that it was so common that some guy wallpapered his bedroom in Curd Apes.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember hearing about that one.
Probably spent $20 doing it.
They got some kind of version of Mystic Remora that looks like it's uncommon. I guess it's the secret layer one. I don't know, but it was printed at common, wasn't it?
Which one?
Mystic Remora.
Yeah, Ice Age has common.
Yeah, so it says other versions. It's got one in uncommon here. Snow Devil. Now they did take out one of your artworks out of the game completely. I'll get to that in 1 second. You got Thermocourse coming in at uncommon.
Stone Throwing Devils they took out.
Yep. And Word of Blasting looks like it's uncommon. That was the last one. Yeah, Stone Throwing Devils. Do you think that was like they took it out because it sounds racial, or what?
Well, I mean, from what I understand, and partially from what I assume is, when we did it a long time ago, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have this wide worldwide coverage, and the events in the Middle East weren't being shown as much, or maybe there wasn't the same stuff going on. But I think what happened is they found out after the fact that is a derogatory term used in the Middle East.
Oh, wow.
Maybe for Palestine kids throwing rocks. I don't know. But I assume that, big companies want to cover their butts when it comes to that sort of thing. So I'm sort of assuming that's what happened.
Especially if you're in a lot of countries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's too, that line of, you say a word, but then in another language that means a bad word or something, it's like, what? I never knew. No,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
no one meant anything, because in my particular case, it was just a really goofy painting of a bunch of really silly devil characters.
Yeah. I know. When I saw that it was one of the ones that got banned, I'm like, why? So I'm glad we actually got to somewhat I would consider the bottom of it,
I wish they would just change the name and bring the card back, because I like the artwork.
I like that one you did, Snow Throwing Devils. Did you do that for a commission or something?
Yeah, there have been a couple things like that done for playmats for specific events. Like there was an Italian one for something else. There was that was for Dice City, I think.
With the beast on one side and the devils on the other.
Yeah. There have been a couple other ones.
Yeah, I love it, man.
For what it's worth, I noticed that Curd Ape, going back to rarity, it actually is, I think, the only card that you have that's in all 4 rarities.
No way.
In Arabian Nights, it was common and reprinted and revised as common. 9th edition, it was printed at uncommon. It has a different artist. Then it was a promo card in 2005, a Friday Night Magic promo card with Ken with the original art for Curd Ape, which is a rare. And then at Mythic, it was a product series, kind of, I guess you can kind of say like Secret Lair.
From the Vault.
From the Vault Exiled, which was, they all were printed at Mythic.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Ken, I'm going to clap for you, buddy.
Yeah, having one card at all 4 rarities.
It doesn't mean anything to me.
No, it doesn't really mean anything to a lot of players either, but it's just kind of interesting to see one card that's common, uncommon, rare, and mythic.
It's been upshifted and downshifted, baby. I think in this case with Curd Ape, it's just been all upshift. That is amazing. Onique, thank you so much for pointing that out.
Yeah, I thought it was just a fun little fact.
That is funny. That's cute too. All right, well, guys, that's going to do it for this week's show. So, Ken, thank you so much for coming on today's podcast.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
I hope it was enjoyable for you.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Good. Well, guys, thank you for joining us this week. And Will, I want to thank you, the Patreon. He's actually listening behind stage right now. And if you guys want to be a patron and listen behind the stage, all you have to do to sign up is go over to www.patreon.com/The Cryptic Commander. Don't forget to check out new videos on YouTube. Ken, we're going to get to the point where we're going to post this on YouTube later also.
Okay.
And we're going to get this out in the podcast form first. Let people stew on that for a while. Then we'll put a video version out. And until next time, keep spell slinging.